I think this is the first game actually that I'm typically very goal-oriented, so my feelings towards the characters and the story, everything is very tangential to how hard is the game or what are we doing while we're doing this. Control it here. Minimize this real quick. What are we doing while we're doing this, and all the side things. I'm usually thinking about how much time it's taking to get stuff done, or where do I need to go if I'm lost, that sort of stuff. I think this is the first game in the series where I actually feel sad to have finished it because it had a good story. It had characters that were different enough from one another that I really sensed who they were. Like that last scene there, where they're all filing in to the Baronian King's Chamber. Throne room, sorry, I don't know why I blanked on that. They're all filing into the Baronian throne room. Despite being 8-bit graphics and saying nothing at all, each one of them still had character, and you knew who they were. And I don't know what I'm trying to say here. They moved in the same way that they talked. Their presence was felt without words, despite you knowing who they were via their words. That makes sense. So this is the very first time where I feel like these characters had character. Like before, Dash was Dash. We know Dash. Those other guys, they were all a feeling. They existed and you knew who they were. But they didn't have full stories. They were someone who joined in, helped you, bail out. And by 3, they joined in, helped out, left, and then at the end of the game they came back a little bit. But these characters, they were your friends. You got associated with them. They sacrificed for you and then came back later to help you again anyway. And then when the story's over, they're still a part of your life. They're your best friends. They're kings, princes, students. They're still your friends. And they're there. They'll see you get married and all this shit. So it's very touching. So you see them the whole way. About this game. Let's see. The ranking. I can start with the ranking. Number 1. Number 1, Final Fantasy IV, American Final Fantasy II. Easily the best of them all so far. Followed by Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy I, and then Final Fantasy II at the bottom. The story went all over the place. Who could have seen at the very beginning of the game that we would be storming the moon? I would say it's out of nowhere, but it's not. Final Fantasy. There's nothing nowhere. Here we are, another The End screen. And the best looking one so far, because that strong outline. But not the first time we've had stars in the background. Yeah, so easily best Final Fantasy of the 4 Final Fantasies that we played. First time hitting up the ATB mechanic, which I'm slowly getting good at. I think near the end there. The Odin fight specifically, but also the final boss and anything in between really started showing that I could keep pace with it, even without the bar telling you how long you had, which is sorely lacking here. I remember it from Final Fantasy VIII, but not so much here. What else is there? There's not much that I actually hated in this one. This one did not do a lot that I hated. In fact, I don't know how this one stacks up in playtime, how long it took me, all the other ones, but it feels like I got through this one the fastest. And I don't know if that's because the story was engaging or I was not so open-worlded. Like, this one, we traveled the world, didn't even have a map, we just traveled the whole world. I only got lost once. And that was only because I didn't put the Black Chocobo farm together with the Black Chocobos and the Wild Can Fly bit. I was trying to find other ways and just over my head. The dungeons weren't as mazy. I mean, if they were something there for you to get, as we saw all throughout the last dungeon of the game. Save points, thank God. Now we don't have to stand outside an 18 level dungeon and beat all 18 in one go. This time we actually, saved 3 times throughout the dungeon, and if we didn't bring any tents or anything, that was my fault. And we still managed to break through because I'm a miser when it comes to elixirs. So yeah, I mean, the ATB system I'm not a massive fan of. I still prefer turn-based action, but I'm gonna have to get to live with it, so I'm not gonna complain. If I can keep up, if I can just get used to it, it's fine. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts on the game. I can't think of anything I'm forgetting to say, other than somehow miraculously naming all of the characters in the game, and the people that they're based on are very much the same in a lot of respects, and I thought that was funny. I hope they at some point watch at least this review to note how Robert was clearly the Robert in the game, the Robert I know, the Justin I know, so much that guy. Griffin and Lessons are not in love outside of Final Fantasy, so that's why every time they talked about love or kiss or got married, I'm just a little hee, because that's a little fun for me. But yeah, this has been Final Fantasy IV bracket Final Fantasy II America. So next time, I guess we're going for Final Fantasy V. I guess bracket Final Fantasy III America. I don't know. I'll have to do some research. But until then, this has been the Game Master taking you on a trip through the Final Fantasy franchise. And I'll see you next time. And hey, to date you, this is being recorded on Christmas Eve 2021. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, I hope.